What is up, everybody? I feel like I have to wait a couple of seconds just to say anything because YouTube, I don't know, their audio is so weird these days. It's just, I replay the videos and it just seems like there is a weird delay of the syncing of the audio on YouTube. What's going on, Brian? I see you. I'm trying to wait a little bit before I get into my little spiel because I've been looking at my videos on replay on YouTube and the audio is just really off. But finally, we can connect. I find that if I schedule these people, what's going on, Roosevelt? I see you. Let me get to my YouTube screen here so I can really see you guys. Hang on for 1 second. But there's been like an audio delay on YouTube. And so when I replay my videos, there's just this weird delay of the audio and video. So hopefully this is coming up okay. They need to do better with their platform. They've been in the game too long, in my opinion, to be for any content creator to be going through this with YouTube. And that's just my opinion. But anyways, I hope that you all are doing good, doing good. Have you guys been following the new administration? I have not. I'm one of those what will be kind of thing. I still see the deportations are going on. I guess some of the Mexican Trump supporters, they are upset. They're still feeling betrayed with some of these deportations and detainments, and again, it's like, I don't understand what these people thought. Like the man pretty much ran on these things. But anyways, did you guys see Elon? His son was at the White House, right? He had his little boy at the White House. I don't know why Elon would do that. To be honest with you, I thought that was a little weird. And, there were, he said a couple of things that got the liberals just juicing. When people feel like they're in a loser's kind of mode, any little thing will make them feel happy, right? And so apparently Elon's son was just running off at his little mouth, right? And his daddy wasn't even checking him. He was just saying stuff, right? And the liberals are like out of the mouths of babes. And apparently this little boy was telling Trump, you're not the president. He was telling Trump to even shut up, it seems. Little boy just running off at his mouth. And Trump is just sitting up there like, I wish I could give you the ass whipping that your daddy never gave you. Right? Just some of these little kids just be running off at their mouth like that. You already know their parents ain't giving them the rod of discipline. They're not getting the rod of discipline. They're just not, okay? I wish I would be sitting up there doing what Elon's son was doing. Let that have been a black boy. He wouldn't have never been able to live that shit down. Don't they raise their kids? Don't they manage their kids? Right? I've seen some little black kids at the White House. They weren't doing all that. They knew how to keep their little mouth shut. And here Elon's little boy is just going to town saying, just talking cash shit to the president. And Trump just got to sit up there and just cuss the little boy out in his mind, just like Richard Pryor. Remember Richard Pryor said he cussed the judge out? He's like, man, you ain't cussed the judge out. He said, I did cuss the judge out in my mind. So I'm pretty sure in Trump's little mind, he was just like, if you don't sit your little ass down, you need to shut up. You need to shut up, kid. I'm pretty sure Trump was talking cash shit about that little boy in his brain, like, man, you and your father getting on my damn nerves, right? Elon gonna do something irritating, it seems, when it comes down to Trump. And he's like, and so a lot of people, and it's interesting because this little boy has a lot of boldness to say this to Trump, right? You're not the president, is what a lot of people were reading from what he was saying in the hot mic, right? You need to shut your face, is what somebody else read from another little hot mic. And, to me, that's an indicator of what his daddy might be saying behind closed doors. Okay? out of sometimes these kids out of the mouth of babes indeed, because a lot of times they might be listening to what their parent is saying, and they may be out here in these streets just repeating some of the shit talking underneath low key that their parents are saying about this individual. Because it's like, for him to be talking to Trump like that, and this is the president of the United States, it's like Elon didn't teach him to have some level of respect or reverence, in certain settings. Like, he didn't give him the old pep talk like that old black mama said, now you listen here, we gonna go into this place, you gonna sit your ass down, you gonna be quiet. He didn't get that pep talk. See, this is how everybody raised their kids differently. What up, little mama? Good to see you. What's going on, Adam? I see you. Kenchi, what's going on? I see you, Kenchi from Thailand. What is that, Trinidad? I see you, babe. And then, but I'm just saying, nobody who I know's parent would be allowing that. They would have been doing the little face gesture that at least let you know you're going to get your ass whooped later, right? He would have been sitting next there up to, standing up there next to President Trump doing all that little radical shit, because he wasn't trained, right? But if he had like a black mama, right, we don't have to yell like, hey, stop, hey, chill out, hey, stop, right? Our face will tell you everything you need to know. Our face will tell you if it's a warning, if you got a black mama, a good black mama, right? Our face will tell you if it's a warning or if it's an ass whooping, right? If we start biting ourselves, biting our lips, right? Because we can't whip your ass right then and there, you already know it's going to be an ass whooping, right? See, that little boy was fearless. He was standing up there doing all that little stuff, right? Not the place to have him, right? No control. And they were like, oh, he's a kid. He's a kid. Exactly the reason why he shouldn't have been in that meeting, right? Exactly the reason why he should not have been in that meeting. But let me know what you guys think. The liberal media is just having a field day with this little boy supposedly just talking cash shit about Donald Trump right to his face, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of them wish they were that little kid in so many different ways. But anyways, you know what I was thinking? I don't follow celebrity gossip drama. I did follow the rap beef between Drake and Kendrick because that was interesting. I used to have an affinity for hip hop music. I think my love for the art craft is not waning. I just really am very particular these days about the hip hop artists that I entertain and kind of what they're about. But Drake, with the, that beef was one of those things where, to me, I thought it was an exhibition of artistry, but I think that there was a little bit more behind the scenes that was going on there too that a lot of people were not aware of. But the results of that beef is lawsuits, right? Drake is suing the label. He's suing them for obviously defamation, it seems. And I think that he recently dropped the lawsuit that was naming, I guess, maybe the manipulation of the streams of the song, Not Like Us. Regardless, Drake revealed that UMG basically gave Kendrick Lamar possibly the same package that he had the whole damn time, right? That we only like Drake to the degree that we like him is because he's been artificially pushed in our faces for years. And I kind of felt like something was a little off when Drake dropped that last album, For All My Dogs, or For All the Dogs, or whatever. And it was a crappy ass album. And yet from a streaming and charting standpoint, it was charting better than albums that were way better than his. Once Drake attacked K-Wife and family plus Tupac, all bets were off. I can agree with that too, but I think that Drake thing is deeper than just him attacking another artist. I think that Kendrick was leveraged to basically humble Drake, right? And I think that Drake had it in his mind that he was a top seller for the label. I believe that Drake did make his label a lot of money. So when you're going back on the table and you're renegotiating contracts and whoop de whoop de whoop, and you are coming back to the table a little bit more beside yourself than you were before, right? You and you're a Drake person where artificially they have made you to believe that you are liked more than you really are, right? Because that's what these labels do. They make these artists, they make the public believe that they are liked more than they really are. And then when they start taking away their artificial streaming packages, freaking the numbers, when they take that privilege away from these people, right? Then we get to see kind of really how they're selling, right? So I don't believe that from a pure sales standpoint that Drake was as hot as he really was. I think that the label had enough money to make the public think that Drake was hotter than what he really was. But it really was just an artificial manipulation. And I think from that side of it, when we're seeing these artists sometimes and we're perplexed about how this artist is shining more than this other artist who has way better talent, and a way better album, right? You got to look at what Drake was suing these people for. That he basically got his little package of streaming manipulation taken away and given to Kendrick Lamar. And that tells you that when I say that these people, a lot of these people are shelf life artists, that's exactly what they are. The industry starts pushing out these artists. Sometimes they push out these newer artists so that they can take out another artist who's making more money, who has more organic following, and who can kind of operate, without necessarily their machine, right? But some of these other artists, they got to do a lot of work, like your Cardi B. Cardi B, if she were just, left to her art, if it was just left to Cardi B's raw organic talent, we would have been not heard of her, right? But because she's, ambiguous looking, right? They put a lot of money behind Cardi B, even though Cardi B is probably the least talented female rapper outside of Young Miami that has come out in the last couple of decades. So, but they put a lot of money behind this person who is repetitive, has zero growth, who isn't really an organic artist, and they have to put that money behind that person. Otherwise, the public won't believe it. So, and that's just what it is. When you see most streams and sales, it does not always match the accolades. It's crazy. Makes me think of 50 Cent and Eminem. That's why when I see people, you so right, Angel, when I see people talking about so-and-so has had like more streams than this person or that person, and they're comparing this newer artist to who have grew up in the streaming age to an artist that didn't grow up in the streaming. Like, you can never compare Nicki Minaj's numbers to a Cardi B who literally started her career in the age of streaming. Nicki didn't start her career in the age of streaming. Matter of fact, I think Nicki took a big hit to her career basically suing these streaming platforms, right? And so at the end of the day, the pure sales of an artist is always going to be the proof in the pudding. Are people buying their merch? Are people actually buying the album, right? Because streams are artificial. I can take an artist album and I don't even have to buy the whole thing. I can piecemeal it. Just pick out the songs I hear. And a lot of these artists are dropping the album on YouTube. They're putting it on YouTube and all these platforms where you get the album for free. No, you can't. It's a kind of a weird way in which I don't even know how the music industry is really making money off of some of these artists. They can't be. But I think the revelation with the Drake suing these labels is that, we see that the artificial propping of a lot of people that we know are not talent, but now we see it's proof in the pudding that it is the industry, the labels, they're pushing these people to be better than what they really are. And so it's just a big manipulation, and it goes into like that Blake Lively thing too, because I don't follow the whole case with Blake Lively, but it's been like one of those big things, especially since the Super Bowl, that's been coming up in my feeds on YouTube. And I guess apparently Taylor Swift was her homegirl, and Blake Lively supposedly used her friendship with Taylor Swift to basically strong arm this supposedly allegedly this director of this movie that she starred in. It Ends With Us. I mean, they should change the title of that movie to It Ends With a Lawsuit, because that's basically what they doing. They just suing each other back and forth. This is the craziest thing ever. But that was also revealing too how these PR companies can coordinate, leverage these social platforms to smear people. So, people go and they're reading a Reddit thread, right? And they're not realizing that that thread was put there by a PR firm who is looking to either help or sabotage somebody's reputation, right? So that's why they say you shouldn't believe everything online, because a lot of things online are there for you to see and believe, so that you can believe certain things about individuals that may or may not be true. So, in the age of artificial intelligence and the age of people just dropping a post and people just readily believing it, I think it's more important than ever for people to at least have a hold on their mental faculties, because it's a lot of manipulation out there. It's a lot of manipulation out there. They'll have you believing stuff about people in a coordinated fashion. Now, I'm not saying that the stuff that's going on with Diddy is not true all the way, right? But when you see how some of these PR firms and all these different people coordinate and how they move to sabotage the reputation of somebody, it's like I really can't even believe half of the fervor, the sensationalism of certain things anymore, because it's like I'm just too aware of the coordination. So that's kind of my take on it. But it's just, we live in a very manipulating world, you guys. Like, I mean, I think we can all, through these lawsuits, right, we live in a manipulating world. We can all probably agree on that. What are they saying here?
By the New York Times suggests there was an alleged attempt to bury Blake Lively by Justin Baldoni. The report indicates that
now, mind you, Justin Baldoni is making the same allegations about Blake Lively too, but
Justin Baldoni expressed dissatisfaction with managing the film's narrative during its press campaign.
It's really a story that raises questions about the integrity and authenticity of the online narratives that exist today, and to what extent they're being manipulated by people for hire.
It's said that his crisis PR representative, Melissa Nathan, allegedly reassured him, stating, quote, "You know we can bury anyone." According to the Times report, Baldoni referenced a viral social media thread accusing another...
So these crisis management firms in Hollywood are ruthless, right? And I say this to say that, when you're talking about two, relatively known names in Hollywood, they maybe both have crisis management teams. It's really made the best team win. And I think that this is a very probably nasty dispute. I'm pretty sure that Justin Baldoni is, dealing with it from whatever degree he's dealing with it. I'm pretty sure Blake Lively is dealing with it to the degree that she's dealing with it. But overall, Justin Baldoni's crisis management team is actually kind of winning, in my opinion, right? Because, when you're listening to all these little sound bites from Blake Lively, just basically, it sounds like to me, admitting that when she gets a role or gig, right, she walk into that meeting room, right, she's not coming in there as just an actress, right? She's secretly coming in there to see how can I leave my mark and get as much credit for this project that wasn't even conceived by me. It actually was conceived by somebody else. They're leading it. How can I get as much credit as I possibly can? And these are things that she has openly admitted to how she moves when she starts a new film project. So I can kind of believe a lot of these things that Justin Baldoni is saying about her, in terms of her trying to be femme fatale and just take over some shit that really did not belong to her. So this is interesting, but how about these crises teams though, right? I'm going to have to say that right now Justin Baldoni's crisis team, PR team, they're winning. They are winning. Blake Lively's team, Ryan Reynolds' team, they're going to have to do a little bit better.
This is what we would need. Nathan allegedly proposed hiring contractors to dominate social media by initiating, quote, full social account takedowns, creating threads of theories, and working to, quote, change the narrative. She reportedly emphasized that these actions would be, quote, most importantly, untraceable. Fallout and reactions. The fallout from these allegations against Justin Baldoni have led to many damning setbacks for the filmmaker and actor. His talent agency, WME, quickly parted ways with him following Blake Lively's lawsuit.
Talent agency giant WME telling the New York Times it dropped Baldoni from its roster just one day after Lively filed a legal complaint accusing him of sexual harassment and retaliation.
And see, this is, unfortunately, sexual harassment is always going to be the winning strategy for a lot of women who want to take men down. That is their winning strategy, because they know that it takes a lot for a man to get over charges like that, and anything that they could have done in friendly jest, right, will now be construed as sexual harassment. Like some of the stuff that she was claiming, they're saying that maybe she was trying to set him up, like inviting him to her dressing room and he comes and she was naked. I mean, and I feel like this, right? And this is just my personal opinion, right? I think that Blake Lively looked at Justin Baldoni as a beta male. I think that she looked at him as somebody that she could clearly take advantage of and possibly get what she wants from. I do think that she also probably recognized that that Justin Baldoni probably found her attractive, even with them being both married, right? My thing is, just because you get married don't mean that you just stop finding other people attractive. And the issue with a lot of times when you're doing on-screen collaborations where your character is in love with somebody else's character and you're spending a lot of time with that person, I think that it is, it's only human for certain sparks to fly. And it does take the self-control of those individual people to keep it in the right perspective. I wouldn't be surprised if Blake Lively knew that man liked her. She tried to leverage it, and maybe in some degrees, maybe in the beginning, he probably even trusted her to maybe even have maybe possibly a flirty kind of exchange or whatever. But whatever the situation is, he gave her enough ammo to be able to narrate sexual harassment. And, that's why, it's these day and age, it's almost important for men to have self-control, understand proper distance, and have a real clear practice of kind of shooing away some of these Jezebels, because they can get you caught up in a whole lot of stuff using that essay excuse, right? And I'm not saying that, and it sucks for the true victims of SA, right? Because, it's just been weaponized. This has been weaponized, right? And so, and it's almost like a crisis control strategy at that point to me when they start slinging out SA, when shit gets hot. So let me go back to my chat here, but let me know what you guys think about this. I just think it's very revealing how these PR groups are just paid to coordinate and skew public opinion. Okay, let me go back and get to the comments. You know who is a very cringe YouTuber to me these days? I can't stand his take, and I don't know if he's just feeding into the perversion of ignorant conservative America. And I don't say that all conservative America is ignorant, but there is a segment of them that are special, probably a little spectrumy. But hang on for 1 second. Let me go back there. But you have these people who are just really on Serena Williams like, why is Serena on these people's radar like this? I don't understand it. And they just got a whole lot to say about her appearing at the Super Bowl. And they're like, you're decorated, you're this, you're that. And for some reason, they think that when all Black people get to this decorated level and they have gotten into this certain status in life, that somehow they will divorce their culture, divorce, some of the environmental things that made them, and they're just going to, placate to the idealism of whites that are more higher status. And so, when I looked at Serena Williams crip walking, first of all, I understand that the crip walk is gang affiliated, but I think that it has a broader cultural meaning than even that it just being gang affiliated, right? I don't run around crip walking, right? But she's from that area, so it's not like I'm, I don't make the connection. A lot of people think, hey, your sister was killed by the Crips. Maybe you shouldn't be doing their signature dance, Serena, right? But regardless, Jason Whitlock has been just saying a whole lot of shit about Serena Williams. And to be honest with you, nothing irritates me more post-election than hearing Black conservatives have to speak on random things, because then they got to prove how Black hating they are, many of them, right? And they got to just say just little stupid shit to just appeal to some of their ignorant audience. So Jason Whitlock, I guess, is going back and forth, and I don't know why Serena or her husband would even give Jason Whitlock the time, right? I mean, this dude, he looks like a sleepy slob to me, right? And I'd be tired as hell doing these live streams, but I try not to look like a slob all the time. But he just looks like a sleepy slob. And he's talking about, Serena, don't think about me, you're this, you're that. It's like, why do these people think so much more of themselves than they ought to? It's insane to me. Going back and forth with this woman's husband, talking about your wife is out there trying to prove something to an ex-boyfriend. And it's like, even if Serena was out there proving some shit to Drake, the man stalked her. He kept her name in his songs. So if she wanted to spend 10 seconds trolling the loser while he's down, right? The imposter syndrome Drake, right? I don't understand what the big issue is that people are just coming at Serena like that. And I feel like sometimes the standards are so weird, because if it was a blonde chick doing the crip walk, they would have just been all geeking over it. Even though they wouldn't have understood it, they wouldn't have been talking as much shit about it. Let me go here. Yes, everything is entertainment and money. If they can get your attention, they have power, equal money. I agree. Influence and data, is a way to get rich, and you see so many of these influencers on YouTube. A lot of them, they have given up their day jobs and they're like, I'm going to do YouTube 100%, right? Because they understand that influence pays. And if you're talking about negative influence, that really pays, because this is Satan's world. So if you're influencing people to do some weird, dumb, negative shit, you're going to get a lot of traction, right? Because people are lemmings in society for the most part. Justin B has more evidence that we have seen that makes sense with what he is presenting. She has more than one issues with multiple people. I don't know, you said you're not worth it. I know you're not talking about me, whatever your name is, but if I'm not worth it, why are you here? And why did you take the time and energy to type those words? I don't know what the hell people be. I mean, it's just, they just come up in the chat saying shit. It's like, if somebody was not worth something to me, the last thing I'm going to do is use the energy in my fingers to type that to a stranger in a chat. You're a freaking loser. You're probably saying that to yourself every day, and then you got to go on the internet and try to put your shit on other people. So, what can we do with these losers on the internet? But they need to leave Serena alone on that Super Bowl performance. There was another topic that I wanted to talk about really quickly regarding the Super Bowl performance, because apparently there was a lot of, commentary about it, right? Some conservatives, they didn't understand it. They felt it was too black, right? The black conservatives, obviously, they're going to say whatever dumb things they say about it. It's the worst Super Bowl. Kendrick ruined the Super Bowl, and there's a lot of interesting takes on the Super Bowl. But then you got this segment of white America, and I always like to give these people their flowers because they're not racist. They're not idiot, bigot people who think that they're better than other people. But then when you look at them, they're probably, living some low value life, and attraction wise, they are probably the least attractive. But somehow their white flesh has convinced them that they're superior. And it is very sad, but, we pray for them ignorant type of folks, right? But then you got the people who can be reasonable. And so you got these white women who are commenting on the Kendrick's Super Bowl experience. And I was looking at a lot of these white women talk. I wanted to hone in on this older white lady first, because I felt like, this is intelligent white America, okay? If this is a Christian woman, obviously this is what a real Christian person, white American, sounds like, right? Somebody who can understand how they have been manipulated by American history, how they have been deprived, how they were not taught certain things or certain aspects of history, but how they can really come to terms with those concepts in modern times and understand the grievances of Black people. These are intelligent white people, and we should never count them out in conversations, especially when I'm in certain pro-Black space. They're quick to summarize all white people as certain things. And it's like, no, you got to give concessions for the non-ignorant ones. So let's hear what this lady is talking about. She was talking about the Super Bowl, and she kind of honed in on one of Kendrick's lyrics. And let's see how that lyric made her feel. Oh, hang on.
Come clear to me. One of the lines that has become clear to me in Kendrick Lamar's performance last night is 40 acres and a mule. And that line is particularly potent for many Black Americans. And it happens to be a line that I remember from my education growing up in grade school in the Bronx.
Mind you, this lady looks to be every bit around 60 years old.
And I vaguely remember what it was about. It was something that was promised enslaved people. I can't remember whether I was told it was before or after emancipation, but it had to do with the Civil War. And I've since had my memory refreshed. And it was something that the federal government promised enslaved people that they would get, and it would help them get a head start. But as with many promises given to Native Americans, they didn't come through. And I never really equated 40 acres and a mule because it was not something that really ever touched my life. But in thinking about it this morning, I never really equated it with something else that was very important to American life, which was the Homestead Act. Now, if you don't recall the Homestead Act, for some reason, there's a lot of American history that really stayed with me. And the Homestead Act was an act that the federal government felt was extremely important because they wanted to populate the Midwestern part of our country, the prairie. And so they offered 160 acres free and clear to people who would farm the land, ranch the land. I guess it was really only good for farming, but they would give free and clear 160 acres to people, and they had mapped out a huge swath of prairie land. And it was white people who took that land, and that's how a lot of our Midwest cities came into being.
So that's an interesting part of history that I didn't know. And this is obviously coming from her own personal account. But she said that when she learned about 40 acres and a mule, and obviously it was something that was pretty vague to her, right? But she's saying that, later on, as she was reflecting on it, she said at that time, 40 acres and a mule really didn't mean anything to her. And she didn't equate anything that was going on, I guess, in her life in America to 40 acres and a mule. But she realized later on that when the federal government came out with the Homestead Act, and according to her, this was a way to populate the Midwest, and I guess they had incentivized that individuals who would go and obviously till the land in the Midwest, she called it the prairie land, right, that they could own that land. And so she said that it wasn't Black people that were afforded that opportunity, that first opportunity to do it, despite the fact that the United States government had promised them 40 acres and a mule, right? It was actually the whites that actually had that priority. And so again, I appreciate individuals who can look at history from a broader lens. They can go beyond their white skin or their white this or whatever and just tell American history how it is, right? Black history is a part of American history, and we do need to be honest about how America and the federal government was really operating, not just to Black people, to a lot of people. They were just promising shit and then reneging on it. So, I appreciate this woman making that point when it came to Kendrick's line about the 40 acres and a mule, and at least sharing her experience as she has seen American history play out.
And they didn't rescind that promise. They gave 160 acres to people free and clear, and all they had to do was stake it out. And this may be apocryphal, but I seem to remember in class hearing how there was a date and they had people lining up and they set off a bell and you could just go and stake out your plot of land and it was yours and you could.
So if anybody is from the Midwest, and definitely if you check out this video after this live stream, if you are from the Midwest, and you do remember that time in which the United States, she's saying that there was a stake night type of thing where people would stand in line and they should just go out and stake their land. Now, if you can remember that, I would love for you to comment and at least tell us what you remember about this federal government incentive to allow people to settle in the Middle West, basically stake their claim on lands. And if you remember that, and maybe your family was one of those families that staked their claim on some Midwestern lands, be honest, was that land prioritized for people that look like you, Or was that stake your land prioritized for those slaves that were promised the 40 acres and the mule? So I would be interested. This lady is saying that it was white people that took the land. So I appreciate her honesty.
Farm it. And that was the beginning of generational wealth for a lot of white people. A lot of these people came from Germany and Middle European countries, and they got a stake in this country. And here we have enslaved people who were brought over against their will and finally released from bondage and promised for their servitude they would be given 40 acres and a mule, and a mule. And they got nothing. And they had to start from scratch. Just a thought. Think about that. Think about how you'd feel if that promise was made to you and then you were just blown off. Okay, that's it. See you next time.
So I appreciate what that lady said, right? And I do appreciate, like I said, our good white American brothers and sisters who can understand how history played out for Black people, who can understand why Black people still feel like they've been disenfranchised in this nation, because this nation has not made penance to their slaves. And a lot of people argue, well, you guys weren't slaves, right? You weren't a slave. And I used to argue that too. Well, I wasn't a slave. I don't really care about reparations. I never was a slave. But the argument for reparation is really not about going through slavery. It's really what happened after slavery for me. The coordination, the breaking of promises, right? I think and that is what the reparations is about. People keep making it about slavery, and it's not about slavery. It is really what happened to Black Americans, coordinated efforts by the federal government. That is what it is about, right? It's about Black Wall Street, right? It's about all these coordinations against the independence, the fight for independence that Black people truly have sought. And if you understand the story of Black Wall Street, you will understand why every single argument about how Black people are lazy, Black people can't do nothing without the white man. It's like, excuse me, you're right, we can't do shit without the white man coming in and destroying it, trying to put his claws in it, right? And this has been our history in this nation. So I appreciate people like her who could look at a performance like that and gain so much additional insight, knowledge, and reflection. I appreciate people like this. I appreciate this woman too. I would hang out with these white ladies. We can kick it over coffee and some croutons and or what do they do? Crumpets. White people eat crumpets, biscuits.
I'd like to talk about the Kendrick
cookies,
Lamar Super
wafers.
Bowl performance.
We'll kick it over, whatever your favorite treat is.
It was absolute perfection in every way. The artistry, the symbolism, the music. Here's the thing. Even if it wasn't...
So this woman is obviously in my age group, right? This is a white woman. I believe she got to be over 40, right? Because she's speaking my language about her time and what music she came up. I'm like, you said mystical. Oh, yeah, you from my group.
The artistry, the symbolism, the music. Here's the thing. Even if it wasn't your type of music, it was still really, really amazing how each song with the performance meshed together with the message. The opening sequence.
Now, I want to say something too, because I think that sometimes, people, like when we talk about like conscious Black people, right? I don't think that we really think about the conscious white people, right? And a lot of times when I run into conscious white people, they have been around conscious Black people, right? They have been around Black people. So they're able to see things from a very objective lens, even if it wasn't necessarily their upbringing. So I do think that white people who had more exposure to black people, they would have been able to get what Kendrick Lamar put out there more than these underexposed, culturally uncomfortable white people that are bitching about his performance at the Super Bowl.
When he was on the car and then he was in the middle of the flag, the way I looked at that was America was built on the backs of black people, slaves. That's how America was built, okay? And that's how I took that scene. And when he said 40 acres and a mule, I didn't know that that's what was offered to slaves. I had no idea, because guess what? I wasn't taught that. And the one thing.
So here's another white woman, right, talking about her lack of education and just basic things about slavery, right? Because American history is not really executed in a way that makes America look like the bad guys that we really have been for centuries. It's framed to make us look like heroes, like the bastard of Rome that we are. Right? We're a mighty, glorious nation, right? But we are as wicked as Rome, and we have been that way since our founding. Maybe we can blame the Masons who helped found this nation after they stole it from the indigenous people. I don't know.
For someone like me, I grew up in white America, Southwest Pennsylvania, okay? Like 90% of my area is white people. So I grew up, the only reference I have for black culture is through music. I grew up with Tupac, Dr. Dre, NWA, Ice Cube, Mystical, and Master P, even Biggie and Puff Daddy. I mean, I hate to say that, but that was just like growing up in the 90s, right? Like those were who a lot of people listened to. My first major news story was Rodney King. That's how I was introduced to how black people are treated in America. Like, black music for someone like me, I used it as like a learning tool. Like, oh my God, I had no idea this was going on. Like, oh my God, this is what I should learn more about. Like, I took it as
and for the most part, you're talking about a white woman that was listening to I'm pretty sure she listened to Will Smith, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and all remember Another Bad Creation? Aisha, you were the guy. I grew up on the boy bands. Those guys, I'm sure she listened to them. But when you're talking about the more conscious black music, like the NWAs and the Tupacs, right? These people who are talking about the realities of what was really happening in the black community, right? If you are removed from that, if you're disconnected with that, you don't really see those realities. You just see a bunch of dudes seemingly glorifying, these sort of, quote, gangster lifestyles, right? But I appreciate this woman for saying, I learned more, I gained my understanding, basically, about black people from just listening to their music. My first experience with the injustices of black people was from a news story, Rodney King, right? And I always say that a lot of people are not racist. Some people are not racist. She even said, I grew up in a Pennsylvania all white neighborhood, and I've made this argument so many different times, right? A lot of people are not racist. They are underexposed, and the only thing that they have seen of black people or black culture has been the mainstream projections that they see on TV. So the only thing that a lot of people know about black people is what the media is projecting to them. So a lot of people are running around with a lot of ignorance about black people in general that the media has fed to them, right? And so, it's not until some of these people actually get around black people and have some exposure to black people that they start to really change their perspective. I had a student assistant, I say this all the time, right? It was me. It was two other program managers in our office. One was a white, actually, it was how many of us? It was white Michelle, Jewish Judy, racist ass Harriet, right? And then me and Connie's black ass. sis. And then we had the white student assistant, Alicia, that we had recently hired. And the girl was from Ionia, Michigan. Now, mind you, I've lived in Michigan most of my life, and I really never even heard of Ionia, Michigan. I really didn't even know that we had a Hell, Michigan, until I met another student, like in college, that was from Hell, Michigan. And I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, didn't know that there was a Hell, Michigan, but I damn sure didn't know that there was an Ionia, Michigan, right? And she was from Ionia. Population, not many damn black people, right? So obviously in her area, they had so few black people that the poor girl was calling black people colors. And the black lady, the other black lady in the office, she was just getting really irritated, right? She was like, well, don't be calling us colored, blah, blah, blah. And she, obviously, Alicia, she's just like melting, right? Because this black lady is just going in on her for calling black people colors. And I didn't want to do that to her because I felt like everything is a teachable moment, right? I asked her where you're from, right? How many black people have you been around? And she told me. And she's like, the only thing I know about black people is what I've seen on TV, right? But I'm pretty sure she weren't seeing people calling black people colored. Maybe she saw an old school movie and just thought that was the lingo. I don't know. But that is to say that you got to give people grace for where they have grown up, right? And the environments that they grew up in. And it's not until people go outside of those environments that they learn how to interact with people of different groups in a different way. And you'll even see people who have conflicts, like where they were raised to think this, that, or other about black people and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, and then they went off to college and, they got cool with some black people and some of their best friends became black people, or like black people as well. And they changed their mind about black people where they did not agree with how their parents or father, mother, whoever, projected about black people in general ways. And they even found themselves defending black people. So there's a lot of people who are underexposed, and through exposure, they're able to, diversify and, themselves and get more cultural exposure. But again, I'm going to say it again. I said it before, I'll say it again. Most of those people who are upset about the Super Bowl, these people are culturally uncomfortable people who are likely culturally underexposed. And that's why that man's performance cut into their little souls like it did. So let me get to the comments. I miss you, Bob, on LinkedIn. How are you? What's going on, Rose Gardens? I see you. Justin has more evidence that we have seen that makes sense with what he is presenting. She has more than one issue with multiple people. All right, Angel, giving us a tea. We'll see how this pans out. She definitely is not looking good. She's looking like a power-hungry woman who tried to usurp the vision of a man that she likely thought was weaker than her, and she thought that maybe her beauty could be leveraged, right, to get her way with this dude. But obviously this dude was on his own glory streak, right? This was his vision. He wanted to be the sole visionary of this. And I think that it just became a conflict of a lot of things between these two. And I don't know how her husband, Ryan Reynolds, got into this, but every time I see them little Mint Mobile commercials, I'm like, man, you need to stop doing cell phone commercials and get your wife in check, because she's not making y'all look good at all. Matter of fact, Ryan Reynolds is not making himself look good, it seems like, in this situation too, because now people are saying that it wasn't just Blake Lively that was trying to destroy this man. It was her husband as well. And I can just imagine Ryan Reynolds. He used to be cute back in the day, right? And he still do look cute. He look all right for, whatever. But, he just, like, he's not Justin Baldoni. Okay, Justin Baldoni is fine. He fine as hell. And so I can imagine Ryan Reynolds was in his feelings anyway. It's just her being alongside that little stud and him being that, who I always thought was cute on the white boy end was not Ryan Reynolds. It was the other white dude that came up around the time Ryan Reynolds was hot too. I think they were even in a movie together. I'm not sure. Was it Jerry O'Connell? Jerry Connell? That was a cute white boy. That was a cute white boy, Jerry Connell. He came up around Ryan Reynolds. I think they were even trying to compete with who was hottest back then. Was it Jerry Cornell or O'Connell? He played Encino Man. Remember that movie, Encino Man? That dude was a cute white boy. I wonder what he looked like right now. Ryan Reynolds, not really a fantasy anymore. Some of them don't really age that hot, but I wonder what he is looking like. Justin is very handsome. He is cute. He is cute. He is definitely handsome. He's handsome. Kanye West and his muse are getting divorced. I heard that she's gonna get $5 million. I'm like, damn, that sucks. Cassie got more than that, but Cassie did get her ass beat, and she was doing a whole lot of other stuff, right? But I'm sure they're saying that the settlement allegedly is $5 million. $5 million, and this man has shamed you all over the place, right? I think there are some hoes on OnlyFans that make more than that with less shame. But Bianca is getting out of there, right? She don't want to be his muse anymore. And Kanye, like I said, that's a very demonized man. I don't think he respects women at all. They're just objects to him. I don't think that Kanye could ever love anything outside of possibly his kids, and even that is questionable, more than he loves himself. That man is a narcissist, right? He needs to feel empowered in any way he possibly can. And the worst thing to have is a narcissist with a lot of money, and who is a creative visionary, right? Anybody around them is going to just have to suffer, in the era of their narcissism. So hopefully she will put some clothes on and maybe do some other modeling somewhere else. Kanye definitely does not have the power to destroy her, right? But because nobody really cares about Kanye's wife. One thing I did see is like this effort that Kanye was seriously trying to make Bianca like this sex symbol that Kim Kardashian once was in her heyday. But I think, the reality for a lot of these women and even these harlots is that the age of the harlot is kind of ending. The sex appeal of a lot of these women, I don't think it's definitely for women. You don't see a lot of men really ogling over Kim Kardashian. You definitely don't see a lot of men ogling over Kanye West's current wife, right? In order for Kanye to really have a woman that the public will ogle over and will actually take him seriously with, honestly, moving forward at this point, is if he get with a beautiful black woman who is very conservative in her appearance and will not take that bullshit. Kanye needs a black woman. He needs a black woman, and he really does need one of them black women who will probably reflect the characteristics of his mother, right? Who will check him, who will cut him off, no problem if he's acting stupid. You got to be willing to walk away from money. So I think that Kanye needs to get himself a strong black woman. A strong black woman, right? Somebody who's willing to say no and, screw you. I'm not going to be butt naked shaming myself. He needs something like that. Some of those masculine broads that they talk about, right? The ones that might beat his ass if he get out of line. He needs probably one of those type of black women. He doesn't need any more women that he can control. What it's like that Miss Seeley moment, right? What did Miss Sophia tell Harpo, right? When Harpo was bitching about his new chick, right? And Sophia told him, what? Beat her like you beat me. No, I'm not. a fan of that resolve, right? But, sometimes some of these men, they need a little reality check. They need a certain type of woman, you know. And Kanye just needs a certain type of woman. Any weaker type of woman is going to be butt ass naked everywhere. If you are a weak ass woman and you're with Kanye West and you won't refuse him, like I heard that Bianca said that she once Kanye have something in his mind, it's hard to say no to him, right? See, no, that not at all, not at all. She couldn't even tell her husband no. She did not want to be naked in front of all those people. That's a problem. Now, if that was a black woman, I mean, maybe she would have did it, if she was just in it for the money. But if she didn't give a fuck about the money, honestly, we probably wouldn't even saw her at the Grammys because she probably wouldn't have came. He would have been sitting up there, standing there by his own little weird self, or he can go and rent some woman. But Kanye is weird as hell to me. I think he's an apostate. I think he's just, I think he's a desperate narcissist at this point, and I don't even think he's really reading the room. Like, for some reason, I think that he equates maybe Trump winning, maybe this idea of MAGA winning or something like that as being, oh, we're in this era of white supremacy or something like that. And even the MAGA people are like, dude, not all of us are white supremacists. Not all of us are Jew haters. And we're not going to just support people just saying shit, right? And this is what Kanye is doing. He's just saying shit, right? He needs attention, and he knows, and I'm so glad that the Jewish community now are saying, like, when he starts spitting all this weird shit, I'm so glad that they're just not getting up in arms like they used to, and they used to just make it such a big deal and it would be a media frenzy. Now, nobody pays attention to Kanye. He's like a person with, and I hate to even say people with Tourette's, but he's like somebody with Tourette's just saying shit, right? And unfortunately, at least the people with Tourette's have an excuse. This dude is mad calculated because he's really just in it to piss off people in the Jewish community, right? And again, Kanye is not even being super duper specific as to which individuals in the Jewish community have really pissed him off, and really just stick to talking about those particular people, right? No, you're just saying shit just to piss off all of them, right? So I think that anybody listening to Kanye, and you could kind of agree with him or maybe how some of the industry was running, right? And you can see sort of the writings on the wall, right? That's the truth you can rock with. But then you go into the execution of the truth, right? And it's like, now you just saying shit. You're in it not to expose the truth. You're out here just to be outright, overtly offensive. And if, the Jews were overtly coming at black people, like, if there was like Andrew Schultz is a perfect example of, to me, an individual who thought that they could just slick talk on black people, and he got his reality check, right? He got his reality check because we don't tolerate stuff like that. We won't tolerate stuff like that. And so we should expect that people in the Jewish community will not tolerate people just going around saying shit about their people. So fuck Kanye and all this crazy shit that he's talking. I don't really feel like, black people should really be owning this brother at this point. To me, I think he's an eyesore to our community. I respect him for his genius, but you're not just going to be going out there, just be out there making black people universally look stupid. You're one of our faces just saying shit about Jewish people. I don't rock with that at all. And, again, I think every group, people, we got our bad seeds, we got people that do shady things, right? But I think that, the wise person will always, keep their offense or the talks, their offensive words on the people the person who actually offended you versus like a whole community of people, like trolling about Hitler, right? That's not intelligent, right? You're not spreading the truth by saying stuff like that. You're just being ignorant, antagonizing. It's the same thing with the Candace Owens using the Jesus is King. We know that Messiah is King, but we know that you weaponize that phrase. We know that you weaponize that scripture because you were going back and forth with somebody who happens to be a Talmudic Jew, and you know that that would irritate him, right? So some of these apostates, they claim to be all godly and stuff, but they weaponize in the word of God. And I believe in rebuking the enemies of God or whatever, but some people aren't rebuking enemies of God. They're rebuking their own enemies using and leveraging God. And they need to watch out for that too, because that is really blasphemy at the end of the day. What's going on, 7:30? You said it's interesting, Kanye trying to save Kodak Black. And he needs to try to save himself. He needs to try to save himself, right? That's what Kanye needs to be focused on, because all these other people, they'll, and he came out talking about Diddy too. What did Kanye say about Diddy? Like basically they should free him or something like that. But not too long ago, I think a couple of years ago, Kanye was going in on Diddy, basically calling Diddy a Fed. And I believe Kanye on that trip. I think Kanye was telling the truth that Diddy probably was a Fed. He was probably working with the Feds, and the Feds are the ones who are taking Diddy down right now. So let me know what you guys think about that. I am about to get off of this live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out to Rose Gardens. I see you, beautiful. 7:30. I see you. Angel, I saw you. Roosevelt, thank you so much. I see you too. We're going to keep it moving, reviewing this crazy world. I was just looking at my feeds to see if there was anything else that was on my radar. Look at that video of Elon's son just talking cash shit. Baby ain't got no home training. Just in the president's office talking all kinds of things, And again, you got a black mama, right? If Elon's son had a black mama, those facial expressions she was making behind, like from the bit, like, right? He would have known the chill out face versus you gonna get your ass beat when we leave here, right? But that little boy was fearless because ain't nobody beating his ass and trying to tell him to do anything other than say whatever the hell you want to. Little dude, what's the little kid's name? What's Elon's son's name? I heard the little boy had a very peculiar name. Elon's Musk's son. What's his name? What's the little boy's name? What's the little boy's name? Huh? Hold up. It's a bunch of little letters. What is the boy's name? What forced Elon Musk and Grimes to change their son's name to what? X A E A. What is his name? Is that a different language? How do you say this baby's name? Yeah, catch it on. It's XT1466. It says XAEAXI. How do you pronounce it? He needs to break this little boy's name down. It's XA12. How do you pronounce it? Let me see. It's a damn shame. Only the weirdos be doing this shit. It's X. And when he was born in 2020, must appear on the Rogan Experience and confirm the name pronunciation. Okay, well, here we go. Let me see. How do you say the name Rogan as It is a Is it a placeholder? Apparently not. Musk said at the time that the name is pronounced X Ash a 12. AE is a character used in some languages, including Danish and Norwegian. It's often pronounced Ash, but some people pronounce each letter saying AE. So his name is X Ash at 12. X Ash a 12. No wonder why that little boy's so bad and talking to the president like he just the new Antichrist, little Damien Thorne. The baby. They have a daughter, Exa Dark Sidriel. See, this man is demonized. I'm sorry. There's so many subliminals in this man's kid's name, right? Like, have we confirmed if Elon is a true devil and Satan worshiper yet? Because I do truly believe the man is a devil worshiper. I really do. I believe he's a Satanist. I think that these kids' names have meanings, right? And if we ever become a tokenized society, I'm pretty sure the internet sleuths will be on it, because I'm pretty sure maybe we will all have a token, right? But if we ever become a tokenized society in some type of foreseeable future, please let me know who has the token number 666. I would be very curious to know whose token number would be 666. And if it's already been taken, do reveal who that token number belongs to if it's not confidential. But interesting guy Elon Musk is, right? I think of all of these people as plants in some way. Just kind of reflecting on, some of the background stories that Candace Owens is doing right now with Emmanuel Macron's wife. Mind you, this rabbit hole they're going down is interesting, because I'm looking at a couple of the Macron or Brigitte Macron, or Tracno. They have a very strong family resemblance, right? Like, as much as we can say that Brigitte looked like the one with the little thing on his face, because you didn't see anybody else with a dimple that deep, right? But the family has like an uncanny resemblance. And, as you get older as a woman, obviously through the laugh lines, obviously you get those little dimples, right? And we don't know if the baby didn't have dimples. It's a lot going on there, but that is just to say that a lot of these people are raised in very secret organizations by conglomerates of people to be in certain positions as they get older, to wield position, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised if possibly this woman is that man. But I guess at the end of the day, let's just say Brigitte Macron, the first lady or gentleman of France, according to Candace Owens, let's just say that the first lady or gentleman of France is a man. And, they decide that they're going to come out and say, yes, my French is horrible. I have cock and balls. I am a man, right? What does that do for the public who are following this story? What does that do for you? What does that do for the people of France to know that the first lady is actually a man? What does that do for society long term, right? Because it's not a crime, theoretically, for a president to have a spouse that is of another sex. And mind you, I don't encourage those anti-God lifestyles. But in Satan's world, there's nothing wrong with, I mean, and I say the same argument with Michelle Obama too. Is it that we would be upset that he put out an illusion that he was married to this strong woman who was actually a man? What does society ultimately do? Let's just say Brigitte Macron says, yes, I'm a man. What then? Like, what is the goal of this investigation outside of, convincing a possibly trans person to admit that they are a trans person to the public, after they've lived a certain lifestyle for decades of their life, I don't get the end game with this little Brigitte Macron thing with Candace Owens. Is it a way to shame Emmanuel Macron? Is it a way to shame him into having a man as a wife that's possibly who he's pretending to be a woman? I don't get it, right? But I will tell you that if it does come out that Brigitte Macron is a man, that's really not going to do anything for the people of France, and it's not going to do anything for the world. It's just going to be, the president of France had a trans wife, right? And if you kind of dig back into a lot of these oligarchs and powerful people, a lot of them are having sex with eunuchs, right? Or, trans people, right? They've been having sex with eunuchs or trans people for a very, very, very long time. Matter of fact, trans people, if you actually go back and look at the history of a lot of oligarchies, especially surprisingly Chinese oligarchy, you'll find the male and female eunuchs there as well. And so, that is just to say, I don't really care about that man's wife being a trans person or a transgender, and I don't think that it does anything for most people in France unless they are pushing that trans agenda heavy in France. And then I would say, then yes, we need to understand the root of this. And if the root of France, the president of France pushing alternative lifestyles on children and all kinds of grooming lifestyle funding, these initiatives with taxpayers' money in France, right, then I do believe that these revelations would be more relevant, right? Because now we can say, well, there's a root cause in this because the president's wife is in fact a man, and she's trying to superimpose her mental illness on a whole population of people. That is the only end game that I can see resulting in this exhibition of Emmanuel Macron's wife possibly being a man. That's me. So anyways, you guys, let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know if you guys heard those hot mics of Elon Musk, little boy, telling Trump to shut his face, and that he wasn't the president. Let me know if you guys saw that. Mind you, Trump was looking at that little boy like, I swear, he's like, if you don't shut the hell up. Like, I'm pretty sure Trump was cussing that little boy out all kinds of ways in his head, probably whipping his little ass in a way that his parents probably never did. That's why he running around the Oval Office like that, and his dad doesn't really have much control over him. Again, I don't even understand why Elon brought the boy there, right? And, I don't know if that's his way of making himself look softer to the public. But, after the Nazi thing with Elon, I got questions. I got questions, I got questions. And it's probably very hard to convince a person like me that Elon isn't a hidden white supremacist, but this is my opinion, right? I think that he is a Romanizing type of person. And when I say that, romantics, I think he romanticizes about Rome and their empire, I believe, right? And I think that some of these people are looking for the revival of some type of Rome. But again, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people had hope that Rome would eventually recover from all the economic stupidity of the empire. But alas, they did not. And they were infiltrated, and eventually West Rome fell. Like America would probably fall. But we will hope that it's not in our generation. But anyways, you guys, shout out to these white American women expressing
education. Yeah, obviously I like the music, but I actually listened to what was being said, and then as much research as I could do at the time, talking to friends or whatever, and, reading, going to the library, going through the card catalog, reading about things. Because we were never taught things in school. I was taught that George Washington had wooden teeth. Had no idea that he had teeth made from his slaves. Like, no idea, because we weren't taught that. So I used black.
So shout out to the white Americans who are open to exploring the real history of America, not the history that makes them feel better, or make them feel less guilty about their ancestry, right? Shout out to those people who can truly culturally immerse themselves in a way that helps them to educate themselves and understand other people and groups in America. So love you, girl. Love you, love you, love you. I rock with white people like this. I really do. I rock with white people like this, right? Because they're genuinely good people, right? Genuinely good, conscious people. And I rock with people of any color that is genuinely curious and conscious. That's all I ask for in association with me. And I'm an Aquarius. So you guys already know we're bougie, right? We don't like to be around just anybody. We're probably one of the more selective of the zodiac. So I like people like this. So anyways, you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.